I became a printmaker not that long ago. It was 2012, I think, and it all happened a bit by accident. So I don't consider myself like a master printmaker, although I'd love to be in time. I've always wanted to be an artist, to make art. I did a foundation course when I left school. I wasn't really very clear about my direction, and I stumbled into a course on theatre design. So I'm a qualified theatre designer, but it wasn't really right for me. And after that, I lost a lot of confidence. I've always kept up a drawing practice. I've always kept sketchbooks on the go. I've always had particularly C. White lovely sketchbooks. But I never really had found my voice, my direction as an artist, and which was quite painful actually. I was always trying to find a job that paid enough so that I could work part-time to give me time to practice as an artist, and to pay for a studio, and I could never quite get it right. And actually that all kind of changed and came together when I moved to Devon in well, I came here in 2008, and without going into lots of detail, I found myself in a situation where I could afford to work part-time, could afford to pay for a studio, and then it was kind of, well, what am I'm going to be a painter. So I did try to get back into painting, but I felt I needed something to just generate some ideas. So quite randomly I decided to do a course at Double Elephant, printmaking course. I've since done quite a few printmaking courses at Double Elephant, and I just really took to it. There was something that came quite naturally about it. So that's how I got into printmaking. Mostly I do lino printing, lino cuts, and I mostly do what we call reduction lino cuts. And I'm just going to randomly pick up one to show you. So what that means with reduction lino cut is, so I've got a piece of lino, and like here on this one I've cut away here any pieces that I wanted to keep white, and then rolled on the first colour, which I think here was the pale orange, and then I've cut away the bits that I wanted to keep the pale orange, and then rolled on the next colour, which I think might have been the black, and so on and so on. So sort of building up colours, cutting away each colour layer, the bits that you want to keep that colour. So the other method is that you make a different lino plate for each colour, and I have used that method, but on the whole I tend to prefer reduction prints. I like the layering of ink. I like the effects that you can get by layering ink, the sort of rich, almost leathery feel you get with that. And I often like printing wet on wet. So you can either kind of wait for a colour layer to dry completely and then put another colour on top, or you can print a new colour on top of a wet layer of ink, and then it goes all sort of mottled, and you're never quite sure what colour's going to come out of that. It's risky bits, can be quite exciting. Yeah, there's just something very simple about lino cuts. There are other methods which I also really enjoy, but I don't know, I like the physicality of a piece of lino and a cutter, and find a cutter, and this, yeah, it's just very, I don't know, just very simple. Dartmoor. I just love Dartmoor. It's a place, I mean, I'm not alone here, but it's a place that I feel very, really sort of feeds my soul or something. I like walking on Dartmoor on my own. There's something about the wildness of it, the sort of that it's a land beyond the field line. So it although it's been inhabited forever, and there's been lots of different industries and activities which have shaped the moor, it has that wild feel about it, and there's sort of no-go areas, which is all quite exciting with the military zones. I love autumn. I love the colours of autumn, and that's the season that, yeah, it's autumn and winter really. I love the colours, and I feel you can sort of see shapes more easily at that time of year. I usually do look to landscape for my inspiration. It is about the land. It is about wanting to portray the land, but it's something else as well. It's also about, in a way, looking at the landscape as a source of ideas for shape and composition of line and colour. So it's sort of both of those things. So sometimes I make quite literal work where a tree is very obviously a tree and a sheep is very obviously a sheep, and then in other work I kind of deviate from that into more kind of abstract things. Like this one, for example, was very much inspired by a particular place on Dartmoor, sort of looking, if you were standing with your back to the Warren House Inn and looking to your left, you'd see there were these sort of warren fields on the hillside. That was the inspiration for this piece. So it looks quite abstract, and there's something about this composition that I really like, but it has its roots very much in a particular place. Often I go out walking with a sketchbook, and so I make lots of little drawings. Let's see if I can show you some examples. So I will actually go out and do very sort of literal drawings of a view that just interests me. I just think, oh yeah, there's some sort of lines. There's some sweeping valley. There's a sweeping valley there that I find very, very interesting. So I'll just go out and do lots and lots of drawings. Then I will come back, or I take photographs. Sometimes I just take photographs, and so then I'll come back and do a simpler drawing from something that I think is gonna work, or I will just take part of a drawing. I'm just wondering if I can find an example here. Yeah, probably not going to be able to put my hand to it. I'll look for a section and simplify it that way, or I'll take a photograph of the drawing and put that into an iPad app and lay out colours in that drawing app and over those shapes. But I'm looking for a process of simplifying down, basically. Just what I'm trying to do is to isolate the elements in that view, that vista, that create the drama that I find interesting. That makes any sense at all. So I'm trying to sort of strip away extraneous detail and just left with the drama of a valley or a horizon or light of a particular time of day. That's my interest, and so then I'll end up either with a colour study, and before I had the iPad, I just sort of do colour studies just to in watercolour, just to sort of try and sort of work out a colour palette that was going to work, this sort of thing. With the iPad I can do this sort of thing very, very quickly, and and I can lighten or darken the shades of colour very, very quickly with an iPad drawing, so I do work with that a lot. So then I'll just we go to the old-fashioned process of making out a sort of a very simple version of that print. I know what colours I want where, and a bit of old tracing paper, and then I can actually transfer my tracing paper drawing onto my lino and start cutting. Yes, people often comment on my colour palette, and which is very nice. It's very, very often something that people really connect with, is the colours that I use. And I have a question here: how do you create such interesting combinations? Do they come naturally to you? To a degree they do, but I think there's been years and years and years of looking. I can look at a view and a particular light sort of in the sky, and it looks pink, but actually it's just a pinkish grey, or it's not pink at all. I've done lots of taking of photographs of colour views in situ, which have lovely colours. Then again, I can use the iPad, put a photograph in, and actually use a colour picker app that will just pick up that colour out of a photograph, and then I can see exactly what colour that is. Well, it's distorted by the process of photography, but so I often put together just palettes of blobs of colour in discs, dots of colour from one photograph. So I've got all the colours that make up that photograph, and that gives me ideas for colours. To a degree it is intuitive. Sometimes if something's just looking too muddy and I want to cut across that, I'll look for a colour that will contrast, like I very often use orange, or like a bright turquoise, or even a pink that will just cut right across the colour balance. The thing that always excites me about printmaking is the surface texture. And I think other printmakers will know what I mean. So I love going to exhibitions of prints and being just like, just finding certain sort of like etching surfaces and mark making in etching or collagraphs, just incredibly exciting. I'm not sure if I can say very much more than that. So I want to create that. So I'm looking to recreate that sort of language of marks and textures myself. I enjoy the fact that my craft is very physical in these days of where we're on screens so much, and we're on email and texting and digital technology, which is marvellous in many ways, but I do feel that we really need to balance that with physicality. The word physicality is my favourite word at the moment. So there's something about having this and a lump of lino, because I can't find a lump of lino right now. Here's a lump of virgin lino. So it's just this, it's about cutting and pressure and feeling surfaces, and that I just find very, very much a relief in a sense. What else do I like about my craft? I both love and hate what I call the big reveal. So when it's time, I've put in my colour, I've cut my marks, I've laid the paper on, I've pressed it, and then there's the moment of taking off the paper. It's a bit like taking cakes out of the oven. It's that kind of like, oh, I hope it's come out all right. And it usually doesn't come out looking like what you expect. Sometimes it's better, sometimes it's worse, sometimes it's just different, and that's always very exciting. There's a sense of something happening which is just not in your control. The land of happy accident. Well, I don't live off sales of my work. I do sell my work, but it's not quite a living. So I do have a day job. At the moment it's gardening, and I work on a sheep rescue farm. It sort of changes all the time. I run workshops as well, not very much at the moment. I'm also looking into making earrings, making jewellery, translating some of my motifs and colours into jewellery, which I'm very excited about. That's very embryonic. I've made some pairs, but I'm still working on a range. I became a member of the Devon Guild of Craftsmen in 2014, although I've been going to the guild a lot before that, and I had been involved in a couple of exhibitions before that. Yeah, I think it's a great organisation. Everyone is so supportive and so great, so friendly. The most important thing though is that it's a place to meet other artists and get support for artists. It's an organisation which is actively looking for ways of supporting artists and offering things that we didn't even know we needed. There's some real nuts and bolts skills that a lot of artists lack, like how to promote ourselves, how to write grant applications, just getting information about help that's out there. We can be very, very shy making our work in our little studios and afraid to show it to the world. And the Guild is a very sort of warm and encouraging organisation that really helps us to get out there and also learn about all sorts of new things, often workshops in lots of different techniques, and it's just also a wonderful place to meet other artists and build that sense of a community. I would say bear in mind that it's lots and lots of experimenting, which is huge fun. So I would, well, first of all, I'd say go and do a course at Double Elephant. They do great courses. There's a wide range of courses when we're not in lockdown, and they're just really solid skill building courses in a lovely atmosphere, in a great place. It's in the Phoenix Arts Centre in Exeter. So that would be the first thing. And then I would say after you've done a course, try and get going at home in the simplest way. There's kind of some good books on the market. I'm plucking this one out at random. Hand printing techniques. You don't necessarily need a press, but get a t-shirt and get it scribbling, make a design, print it on your t-shirt, or do some fabric printing, do something that's fun, make some cards, just get going on some simple fun things. That's what I would say. Oh, and go and look at as many exhibitions as you can that feature printmakers. Because I have quite a small studio, because of economics, budget restraints, my studio is quite small, and I have only just a small press that you can just see there. I do make larger work with hand burnishing, sort of. I won't go into that right now, but I would like the chance to make bigger work. I can, of course, go and use facilities at other studios like Double Elephant, but there's another cost involved there. Also, I work with my colour mixing. It takes me ages to mix up my colours. So if I'm hiring a studio by the hour or day, that doesn't always work for me, really. So I would love to make some bigger work, and I'd love to do a residency somewhere exciting like Iceland. That would be a great challenge. I'm very, very inspired by big open sort of featureless places, if you like. Yeah, so I'd like either Iceland or a desert somewhere, and to make some really big work with a residency of a year or something. That would be great.